What's going on, guys? I'm going to spend the next few minutes going over a concept that we will call the human optimization matrix, which is just a fancy made up phrase that means some sort of visual aid that you can use to organize three very important areas within your life. So why? Why is at the center of this matrix? Because that's a good question to ask yourself when you're setting physical, mental, and spiritual goals. But why talk about this today? This persuasive speech. The sole goal of the speech today is to address the current health epidemic and healthcare status within the United States. So in 2011, Patrick L. Remington, MD, and Ross C. Brownson, PhD, released a paper going over 50 years of progress for chronic disease epidemiology and control in the United States, and they discovered that we have increased human lifespan by about 30 years on average, which is a good thing because that just means we have more time to develop these three areas individually and collectively. But as far as bad implications, what we're seeing is that the quality of life for some of these individuals is actually poorer on average, even though they are living longer. So how do we remedy this? Our current healthcare is not terrible, but we're definitely not global leaders. It seems that there are a little over 1 out of 7 individuals within the United States that do not have access to healthcare. And again, for those who do have access to healthcare and are suffering from a chronic disease or some sort of orthopedic issue, it seems like they are shuffled around this industry either in a mediocre fashion where their issues are resolved, but they end up as part of a injury re-injury cycle or a sick and re-sick cycle, or their issues or their issues really aren't addressed to the degree that they could be, and their quality of life, and they end up as those people whose quality of life ends up being poorer even though they're living longer. So our former President Barack Obama released a paper in 2016 going over the current state of healthcare in the United States and the future outlook. So what's next? And he implemented certain practices, some of which were good, some of which may be viewed as negative or may actually be negative. The verdict is still out there. We'll have to see how these things pan out over the long term and how they're affected by our current president as well. But overall, as healthcare moves in what will probably be a more positive direction, what should be addressed is self-care. Right? And self-care is self-care is the umbrella that this optimization matrix operates underneath. And that means addressing these three areas, your physical health, your mental health, and your spiritual development, in a way that will allow you to accomplish what studies support, that being decreasing the risk of contracting a major illness or developing a chronic disease or suffering from a catastrophic orthopedic issue. Or even on the even better side, or another side, you can reverse the effects of certain chronic diseases, or powerfully navigate through certain injuries or ailments that you do contract. So what does this mean? How exactly do we master self-care? Well, within this optimization matrix, we have 3 areas again, and each area operates within a triangle or a pyramid of priorities, which if you saw my first speech, or if you're familiar with some of these priority pyramids that sports science companies put out, then you'll understand that there's a hierarchy of relevance starting at the bottom of the pyramid where your base level areas should be addressed. So to reference my prior speech, for physical, if we're talking about being healthier and achieving a healthy body composition or just an ideal body composition, a good example for this physical priority pyramid would be calorie balance at the bottom. Make sure that's first addressed. Food quality and composition next. Macronutrient amounts, meal timing or nutrient timing, and then finally supplements at the very top because they're least important, but they do carry a small magnitude effect. But again, if you're not addressing things at the bottom, then you're probably not doing yourself a favor by starting up at the top. Same thing applies when we get to the mental pyramid of priorities as well. So one of my favorite models for psychological development is spiral dynamics. I think another one everyone should be familiar with would be like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. for those of you that have taken psychology courses. But spiral dynamics is kind of cool because they lay down this this development spiral, so to speak, in a way that really made sense to me. And I think it allows for open interpretation, and nuance as each level kind of bleeds as a continuum onto each other. So if you're not addressing your base level mental needs, so are you fed? Do you have a roof over your head to sleep? And are you safe? It's going to be much harder as you scale up and think about taking care of a family, or taking care of a network, a business, or your tribe, or your community, and then taking vacations, investing in stocks. It's gonna be much harder to broaden your to increase your bandwidth, so to speak, your mental bandwidth, and focus on things outside outside of that scope, if your bare essentials are taken care of. So now we have a pyramid here, and as you guys see, these are your physical pyramid priorities are supported, as indicated by this green arrow, by mental priorities, and vice versa, right? So the better mental processing capacity that you have, the more easier it will be for you to focus on physical qualities, and and the better physical qualities you have, the better you will be prepared to engage in mental qualities as well. And as these two interact and work together to spiral up, you can then begin to delve into spiritual practices, which don't have to be confined to common religious institutions like we typically associate spiritual with. This is more about taking the abstract things that science hasn't quite proven and made material yet, and conceptualizing them in a way that makes sense for you, and then and then allowing them to spill back into these physical and mental areas, so you can tap into that unlimited power that I think lies dormant within all of us, or at least provides us with clarity to navigate this space and time to the best of our abilities. So again, the goal here is to use some sort of model, which the cool thing about this is it doesn't have to be exactly the one that I've used here. Everything operates on a continuum. We understand the most important areas overall, so you can create your own, so that you can turn it like this and allow yourself to spiral upward as you allow these areas to work together to improve your life and those around you. And then as we circle back to the main point of this speech, if each of us fulfills our role of spiraling upward using a matrix of this sort, we can ensure not only our best quality of lives and for those around us, but that the next generation is brought up with the best possible chance at living much longer than us, at a higher quality, at a more productive rate, so that they can maybe explore and answer these deeper questions that we currently do not have answers to, and might not ever. But I think that giving those that follow us the best chance possible is not only fair, but it's probably the right thing to do if our overall goal is to push humanity forward. So yeah, guys, give it a go, do some introspection, and have fun with this overall. This is less about me or anyone else telling you what to do, and this is more about me encouraging positive change and transformation in the lives of everyone that I have the opportunity to speak with. Till next time, have a good one.